Welcome back to another episode of the Empowered and Embodied Show. With over 14 years of entrepreneurial experience and a rich background in business coaching and human design, our special guest this week, Mel McSherry, brings a wealth of knowledge and personal insights to our discussion. In this episode, we explore the essence of self-trust and the importance of holding space for personal growth. We talk about why traditional frameworks often fall short for so many of us. Whether you're curious about human design, seeking a more aligned life, or simply looking for an empowering conversation, this episode is a celebration of the journey towards self-empowerment and authenticity. Enjoy. Hi there. Welcome to the Empowered and Embodied Show. I'm Kim Romaine.
And I'm Louise Neal. We're two transformational coaches who are also fellow travelers on the path of growth and self-discovery. And we're inviting you along for the ride.
That's right. We're right here in the trenches with you, navigating the ups and downs of life. And each week we'll be sharing our own experiences, bringing you conversations with amazing guests, and exploring insights and strategies that have helped us find more clarity, confidence, and ease in our lives.
And trust us, we do not have it all figured out. We're learning and growing right alongside you.
So if you're ready to rise above the chaos, doubt, and confusion that sometimes life throws our way,
and step into a more empowered and embodied version of yourself,
then you're in the right place. Let's get started. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. We are so glad to have you here. Once again, I am Kim, and my lovely co-host here today is I'm Louise. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in to another episode. And our wonderful guest at the table today is Mel McSherry. Yeah, and we're going to learn all about Mel in just a little bit, but we want to start today like we start every day. What are we celebrating, friends? What are we celebrating? I'm celebrating the first week of school, the first day of school. Is my kiddo? Yeah, my kiddo just toddled off earlier this morning. Our kiddo is 18. I heard that they're starting university. They still toddle. I still toddle at 43. Totally. With the amen. My daughter showed me how I toddled yesterday's. Yeah. I guess I'm celebrating like his accomplishments. I get to do that as a parent. I get to celebrate beside him as he kind of launches into this new phase in his life. And I'm celebrating like one of these, like little pat on the back. As parents, I don't think we just slow down and say it's a long haul. Sometimes they're long days. Every parent listening is nodding along going, yep. Yeah. I went just now. It's cool. Really? But we all come to the end of the day and you're like, thank goodness that was over, right? We manage emotion, feelings, situations, all kinds of things with our kiddo. And then we get to the end of the day and we're like, we don't celebrate it, right? And it's look what my kiddo did today. Look how they navigated through, and look what I got to do as a parent. We don't celebrate parenthood in that way. I agree.
I don't know. I do it every day.
Well, what are you celebrating this week?
Well, I celebrate the fact that I am finally fully moved into our new space.
Nice.
It has been a process. And the funny thing is, I'm sure people are going to be like, oh, did you move cross country? No, downstairs. But I feel like that's even more overwhelming because you minimize it because you don't have to have everything done right away. You're like, oh, I'll just run this down today and tomorrow not down. And then a week and a half later, you're sick upstairs and you just want to be somewhere. And it's that one thing that you remember and you're making dinner going, shit, it's upstairs. You got to go for supper. Yesterday was our final day of everything, at least from the apartment upstairs, is in this space. And I think this is the first, no, I don't think I know. This has been the first day where I have felt grounded. And I have felt okay, I can now start setting my frequencies and my moods. I put on the spells. I made my altar. I burned things, legally. And it just finally just feels like, oh, so now we can, start getting back into whatever the new routine is, but into a routine. So that's been celebrating because it's definitely been, it's been a haul.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because I'm going to pull that thread through, right? So Louise talked about, so when you're listening to this, it will no longer be the first week of school. Like, let's just acknowledge that you're going back in time with us for this little part of the segment. But as Louise said, first day of school, right? Patting yourself on the parental back. Now being in that space and having routine and having some semblance of what's the word? Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever.
Right. It's exactly. And I'm going to celebrate the same thing. And it's kind of tying those two things together. So for us, school started last week and our kiddo was not part of the group going back to school because there was an issue with our visas and things got held up. And we were told, right, it could be like 2-3 weeks before she actually starts. So we had settled into that. We're like, okay, this is going to be the rhythm. We're going to settle into it. How can we still maximize time with friends outside of school? How can we do other things so it doesn't feel so alienating for her if she starts 2-3 weeks late? Well, just before we started recording this, we got the call that she actually starts tomorrow. And so she's only missing the first 2 days of school, which is pretty phenomenal. Yeah. And so I am celebrating that whatever stars needed to align got aligned. I did my whole, so we just had a new moon yesterday. I did my whole new moon, witchy stuff. And actually this morning, I didn't make time for it yesterday, did it this morning. And then we had this call. So it feels once again like, okay, yeah. And we have this whole moving out of Capricorn, 16-year Capricorn phase into this Aquarius phase. And my Aquarius rising is very excited. So there's all this. Yeah, it's all sorts of new and all sorts of breathing, right? It's like, oh, I can take that breath.
Yeah.
Right. Doesn't mean the shit's not hitting the fan with other things. Still is. But I can breathe through this a little bit easier. Absolutely worthy of a celebration. And that's why I do celebrate every day my parenting. Because if I'm not going to celebrate it, nobody's going to, like, right? I mean, sure, my husband tells me good job, whatever, but or my kid shows me in some way that I've done something, but I need to celebrate that. I need to be like, oh, that was a tough conversation, but I did not lose it, or cool, I lost it and I apologize.
Right.
Whatever it needs to be.
Yeah.
Right?
When we are able to show our kids that we are just as human as they are. And that we also get emotional. I know, and again, we're kind of segueing into this, but I grew up with not very emotional front parents, like my mom a little bit, but we didn't really talk about emotions. And it was just, go into your room and when you're ready to be a human being, come back and we'll have a conversation or something along those lines. And I always celebrate as well of that. I can lose it in front of my kid. I can go and I can explain to him that, one, I'm sorry, two, this is why. And so he can see that it is more than okay. And also for him to see my boundaries and my limits. And, because that's any relationship you need, no matter what that relationship is, understanding your boundaries, your, starting points, stopping points, all of that, and communicating that to others so then they can see either where they can fill in or where they can step back and just hold space for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we'll get into this juiciness as well, but one of the things that has been so powerful for me. So I had a mom that always wanted to talk things through. And what I realized as I was introduced to human design, which again, I know we're going to talk about today, understanding that as an emotionally defined human being, like the way I hold and move through my emotions is different and unique than other people. And so even though we talked about everything, my emotions still felt big to my mom.
Yeah.
And for me, having a non-emotionally defined child, being able to process my emotions differently than her and allow her to have the space to know that whatever she's experiencing is fine. It doesn't have to look like mine.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, understanding my son's design has just been so beautiful and supporting. Yeah. My kind of, I don't even know why I say plan of action, but just my plan of parenting, because parenting and business, they go hand in hand with everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a right way, wrong way, sideways, whatever. And they want to tell you all of it as soon as they find out you're one or the other or both. And it can be so overwhelming because you're like, oh shit, I gotta do this. Well, this is better. They say that, this, that, the other. And when you don't have that kind of baseline information for yourself or, your kiddo, it can just be a lot of trial and error, which life always is. But with that understanding or with that information that you have about yourself and or your kiddo with human design, it does silence it a little bit, and or it helps you customize what they told you and or the vernacular to, I don't want to say defend, but to explain if needed.
Advocate?
Yeah, advocate. Thank you. You think I would know that word with, yeah, it is that. It's that when you don't know, it's hard to implement because either you don't know yourself. So again, you're trying to just throw spaghetti at the wall, or you don't know the next step. So then it's going back to, okay, what do I know to be true? What can I lean into? What can I ground into? What can I root down and use that as the settling point, as the monopole to who you are, what you want, and how can you facilitate for yourself and advocate for others.
Beautiful. All right. Before we go too far, because we have this habit of going really far into a conversation and then people are like, wow, that was the most amazing person. We don't really know who that is. And who are they? So I'm going to officially introduce you, and then we'll continue the conversation. Sound good? All right. So as an international business and life guide, Mel McSherry helps inspired but overwhelmed entrepreneurs honor their lives and become the architects of their own success. Mel uses their spiritual gifts and their 14 plus years of business building experience to slash entrepreneurs' stress and bring their success to life. By the way, Mel is phenomenal at this firsthand. By merging human design with traditional business development tools, Mel coaches others on how to connect with what they want and implement their strengths and strategies to be profitable every day, mentally, emotionally, and financially. Mel, we are so, so excited that you're here.
I'm so, so excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
Yeah. So before that intro, like we were talking about empowerment, right? Like that there's information out there that when we connect with it, touch it, use it, integrate it, we know something maybe that we didn't know before about ourselves, or, about someone. And that's, as you were talking, Mel, the word empowerment really came, like, to be empowered is to have that information and to have access to that information. Like, does that sit, like, Kim and Mel, like, does that sit with you? And we talk about like empowerment, especially around the self-awareness of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's that trust that we can tend to lose to the trust that we have within ourselves. Like, we are taught and trained so thoroughly, especially as entrepreneurs, to seek the answer out, to find the expert, to get the mentor. Yes, there's personal development. I love personal development, but it's not personalized personal development. It is, oh, this person has a story and I connected to something to it, but it doesn't give us that one-on-one, not only connection, but what do I do with this? Like, cool, I'm now inspired. Now what? And when you just keep kind of grasping at on things on the outside, we don't understand or don't connect to the natural resources and strengths we already have. So I definitely agree that empowerment, especially through human design, or just empowerment and that self-awareness, that self-trust, holy bejesus is that. How rough, because not everyone can say that's why I have a business. I have kids. And I will say this too, even though I have that information, do I still have moments of what the fuckery? Absolutely, because I'm still human and it's still trial and error. And as I mentioned earlier, I also have this operations manual that shows me how to move those movements, that shows me what is true, what do I know, what do I want, and as well as what can I do as I wait to be invited, as I move through this emotion. So I'm an emotional authority as well. And it just gives you that stability that you can only give yourself, that nobody else can really give you. They can support you through it. That self-assurance, that's like chef's kiss.
Absolutely. I mean, if Mel, you and I have talked about, although I haven't shown you behind the scenes yet, I need to do that, of a tool that I use that utilizes human design as the foundation, and then layers on additional assessments. So, right, we can really get that place of, so what do I do with this information? And for those who are listening, who are like, human what? Designy which? And emotional, right? So I'm going to have you explain what that is in just a second. And I like the bottom line, the underlying portion of all of this to me is personal agency, is giving ourselves a roadmap, a owner's manual, so to speak, that allows us to actually lean into our personal agency in a way that has been maybe very difficult to access in the past. But explain a little bit about like human design. How did you come to it, and what's your story around that?
I'll quickly describe what human design is, and then I'll go into my story. So human design is a system that combines Kabbalah, I Ching or I Ching, depending on how you pronounce it, astrology, the chakras, and quantum physics. And what it is, it's your energetic blueprint. They call human design the science of differentiation, because it shows you how you are literally different than everybody else. Nobody has the exact same chart. Even if you're, there's 5 types, which have the overarching theme. Even if you're the same type, you're not the same person inside of that type. And it gives you, as you mentioned, that owner's manual or operations manual of your strengths, your strategies, how you make decisions, where do you make your decisions from in your body, spoiler, not your head, and also how to take that advice and register it to your baseline. And I will say for me, it actually found me twice. So as you mentioned, I've been an entrepreneur for 14 plus years. So I started in 2010, and I was actually in the fitness industry. I was a certified personal trainer, did in-home trainings, outdoor boot camps. I got really well known for my bridal boot camps here in Chicago. And when my son was born in 2011, it was just too hard to travel to clients. I was married at the time. My now ex-husband worked in Major League Baseball. He was in the communication side for the Players, which means he was gone 2 months straight for spring training, worked every single home game, to every other away trip. And our kiddo was born in the middle of the baseball season. I'm not from Chicago originally, so being thrusted into what I called myself a married single mom, sprinkle in some undiagnosed postpartum depression, and that first year was a hard. And it was like, okay. And so a lot of things just that I anchored myself into, because what I found out about myself more and more, especially as I explored my human design, was I would really attach myself to titles, to descriptors. And in human designs, because I have what's called an open G center, which is an open identity. I glean off of others. That doesn't mean I don't know who I am, but that means I'm very changeable. I'm kind of like a chameleon. But I took it too far. I would be like, oh, I am Charmelene's daughter. Oh, I am Jason's wife. Oh, I am Max's mom. And I never really took the time to really understand who I am without those titles. Well, fast forward to 2015, I'm in the middle of my divorce, and I started to really explore what I wanted in life, because I grew up in a very religious household. So therefore I grew up with very traditional ideals of what the perfect life was, married, 2.5 kids. After my son was born, I was ready for number 2. My ex-husband was like, no. And that was the first trigger of, but wait, excuse me, that's this whole plan, right? That's what I'm supposed to do. That's how I get to where I want to go, which I didn't even know where I wanted to go. I just had that in mind. And so exploring what actually I wanted in life, now going through a divorce, I was connected at the time with a network marketing company called Beachbody. And through them, I was lucky enough to have a year-long internship with John C. Maxwell, who is like the ultimate coach guru. He's been around for a decade. My dad, who's an entrepreneur, used to read his books. He still does, I believe. And I was introduced into what business coaching was, or just coaching in general. And I loved it because it was something that I realized I naturally did with people inside of my team for network marketing. But I wanted it to be more than just that. I wanted it to be about the person, not so much about the accolades or about the, rankings or this, that, and the other. Because in network marketing, you get lost a lot. It's a lot of copy and paste. It's a lot of what I call lemming style. And I wanted to show people inside network marketing who are predominantly female or female identified that you can still own your business inside of this collective. And that was kind of like, as I tell my story, I was like, oh, that was the gateway drug. Like that was, okay, that's the first thing from the universe. Like, hey, individuality inside of the collective, store that away. And then in 2017, I wanted to learn how to meditate. Universe was like, here is a person. She slid into my DMs. She hosted a 6-month meditation mastermind. Through that, I heard of human design for the first time. So this is 2017. And I read my type, which again is like one out of a gazillion elements inside of human design. I call human design the ultimate onion of personal development because there's a lot of layers. And I initially went, yeah, cool, that's me, sweet. And then as I moved more and more into the business, quote unquote, coaching world, the hierarchy of needs started to flip on me without me really noticing. So when I first started my business, it's because I wanted to do what I want to do. It was that mental and emotional profitability first. The financial was just like, I get paid to do this. How sweet is that? And then as I started hiring more and more traditional mentors, it was the financial all of a sudden. That was what they were asking about. It was the numbers. It was, well, what are your goals? What are your number goals? How many people did you call? You'll initiate, follow through, go for the ask, all of these things. And on paper, I did really well, really well. I was making 6 figures. I was traveling, I would say every 6 to 8 weeks to speak. I spoke internationally twice. I got paid to speak internationally twice. And I'm, sharing my lifestyle, sharing things. And each and every day was an internal struggle with myself of just like, this is the day. This is the day somebody finds out that I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Because I was being told to do it this way. Of course, I smiled and nodded because I wanted to be the perfect student. And I copy and pasted and did everything right. And on paper, everything followed through. But the mental emotional profitability, all of a sudden was just being less and less and less and less. And
it flipped. It flipped.
Yeah. And unbeknownst to me, about 2 weeks before lockdown here in Chicago, which we were in lockdown for almost 2 years, I went on my very first spiritual retreat in Sedona, Arizona, with the same spiritual coach who did the meditation mastermind class in 2017. And a person who was there knew more about human design, showed me my entire chart, and I felt, because it was the first time, there was so many layers, but I would say for the first time, I felt seen, heard, and recognized. I felt validated and confirmed as to why some things I didn't like to do. It wasn't because it was just outside of my comfort zone. It really was just not in my zone whatsoever. And it also gave me the vernacular to advocate for myself of, no, that's not how I'm built. Because when you don't have the words, it gets emotional, right? You're just like, but I just know, just trust me. And your mentor who bless them, they want you to be successful. They just keep pushing. I'm just like, well, just do it. Like, we just got to do it. And so I came home, went into lockdown, and just really started just rabbit holing into my human design. and slowly but surely started making changes in my personal life and my professional life. 2022, I came out of the spiritual closet on LinkedIn and started offering oracle card readings and talking more about human design. And now it is my introduction tool to whether you work with me, you know, afterwards or just so you can have more information on yourself. But I'm so ridiculously passionate about sharing this tool with people because, as we've been mentioning already, in the almost this entire episode, that empowerment of when you know yourself and you know yourself. Granted, there's bits and bobs that you are going to continuously unearth and heal and grow and expand. But when you have that baseline, all of a sudden, it really does feel like you have that weight. Like it's just there. And it gave me that deep breath of, I'm not crazy. I'm not lazy. That's why that didn't work. Oh, if I would have known, but that doesn't help anybody, but it's still that confirmation of, yes, this is who I am. This is how I'm designed to create what I want. And when shit goes south, how can I go back to myself to find that baseline, as well as when I'm ready for support, how do I ask for, how do I receive it? And what does that look like for me? So it's definitely been such a journey. It's definitely a journey that has not been, and then everything was sunshine and rainbows. But even in my burnout time of 2023 and in this, entire process of being a human, journey of being a human, I still have something where I can go, okay, this is what I know to be true. Because I know this is what I want. And therefore, I know that I can take X, Y, Z step and wait for A, B, C to follow.
I'm a human design baby. Like I am a baby. And understanding what it is. And Mel, as you're talking, I kept coming back to this, this place where we go to learn how to trust ourselves. Yeah. Right? That we really do know. We know a lot of shit. And we don't, at least for me, I didn't. I don't. I'm still learning how to trust myself in different areas and spaces. And for me, that's that's this, I don't know, the heart or the seed of when we talk about personal development, this deeply personal development builds that trust, right? And it starts it starts not just from the inside, like everybody says, right? Personal development from the, it's no, this is deeply,
this is cellular, this.
Yeah, absolutely.
DNA-ish.
Well, and that's what's so fascinating about this idea of, right? They talk about human design being an energetic blueprint. It is a cellular blueprint. It gives you information that you may you were talking, Mel, about it being like the proverbial onion, because it is. You're always there. I don't know how during your lifetime you could ever understand every element, particularly because we are living in a changing environment where planetary transits and other things affect us, let alone environmentally, what changes in our lifetime also affects us. So, but having a place, Louise, to kind of go, like you were talking about, it's deep knowing, to have a way to tap into it. I know in our conversations offline, there are lots of places that you go, Louise, to find that grounding that Mel was talking about in their story. What other ways have we been able to explore? Again, for people who are just listening and saying, this sounds good, this sounds fascinating, I'm not sure I understand. Yeah, which I get. Trust me, I get. It's right. So what are those other spaces that we go to where we start to play with that space of self-mastery and personal agency?
I mean, first of all, the quote that always comes to me is, you have everything inside of you to answer the call of your soul. You just have to find it. And the thing is, even if you're never called to actually know your human design, here's a bit of recipes for you. We all work inside of it. It's in our natural flow. What happens is we tend to go too far outside of our stopping points because especially as entrepreneurs, we are taught to just do it, to go, initiate, as I mentioned, follow. There is only one type that's supposed to initiate, and they're 7%?
If that. Yeah.
The rest of us, guess what? Are meant to wait. And we're not taught that. We're not taught to wait, especially for those of us who are, assigned female at birth, are female, is that you got to, if you want it, make it happen, just do it. And it's innate in us because it's just all that we share. And I know for me, it was that trust. Well, I know I'm doing something right because I love what I do. This is, before I found human design, where yes, I was successful. I wasn't successful because it was a fluke. I did have clients that I loved. And it's not that I was, I'm going to caveat that in just a second. It's not that I was attracting the wrong clients. I did start attracting the wrong clients when I went way too far outside of my design. That's where I had 3 clients fire me on the same week in 1 month. And man, that was a big face palm. So the universe, or, whatever you believe in, or if you don't believe in anything, but there's always a natural push. There's a natural stopping point. You're going to find that boundary, whether you burn out or whether you're disconnected from what you loved before. And so it's going back to understand, no, I do know I love this. Again, that question, what do I want, or what do I know to be true? I love that question. What do I know to be true? I know I love doing this. I know this burns me out. I know I don't like doing this. And that is your human design naturally speaking to you. But what it can also do is, when you really understand it deeper, it's that, well, now how? I always say human design is your why behind your how. We don't know our how. We don't talk about our natural hows very often. We are taught why. Thank you, Simon Sinek. Love that. We do need that. But then that opens us up to so much noise of, you got to be on social media. You got to niche down. You got to do this. And when you feel like you are just screaming into the void because every fiber of your being is like, I don't want to, but yet this is what I'm told to be successful. That right there is just, I'm sure a bunch of people just listening went, yeah. Because that's that feeling of just, what is wrong with me? Why am I the misfit? Why am I the rebel? Why is it working for this person and not me? Human design is your why behind your how. And it gives you that, because this isn't that for me. So to kind of come back to myself, as I mentioned probably a gazillion times now, I was taught initiate, right? I'm what's called a projector. So my strategy is wait to be invited. That in and of itself, really mindful.
And every projector I know.
Again, I was successful when I did that. But then when I actually looked at the threefold profitability of mentally, emotionally, and financially, knew I was that.
Mm-hmm.
And even in that strategy, gave me that pause to reframe how I wanted to do this. It helped me either bless and release what I'd done before, that though it quote unquote worked holistically. And when I say holistically, that's WHOLE, like full person, holistically. No, it did not. So what elements can I take that I love? I love speaking. I love speaking. Traveling exhausts the bejesus out of me because I'm also what's called a hermit inside of human design. So I need my rest. As a projector, I only have 2 to 4 hours of natural, it's not even natural energy, but it's energy. The rest I siphon off from others. So when I was traveling, I thought I was crushing it. I was high as a kite. And then the next day I would feel hungover because I didn't drink because of how exhausted I was. So when I was reframing my entire business during my burnout last year, my autopilot last year, I went, okay, what about speaking do I love? I love being accessible. I love being able to share myself as a resource, share my story, be able to connect with people. How can I do that and not have to travel and be it inside of my routine, inside of my energetic time of day? Podcasting. So it was just like this. What? Why did I think one was less profitable than the other? And so again, it's those things of like, you look at, when you understand your human design, you look at the tools you already have, because you have so many natural resources as well as resources that you pay for that you can reframe and match to who you are and what you now know to be true. And you can also bless and release what didn't work. And because now you have the vernacular to go, nope. And now this is why. Don't have to explain to anybody, but I can explain it to myself, which makes me feel better. And I can keep moving. So again, it's those little things that you do every day that make such a big difference. And it's those little things that you have the trust and the empowerment to do because you know that that is what's meant for you.
But I actually have right here on the, I have this little card. I think, Kim, you helped me design this.
Mm-hmm.
That talks about like who I am in my human design and why I'm here. I don't know exactly why I'm here. But I know from here, this little card, this little statement actually helps me every day. Because the idea behind it is like, I can solve all kinds of problems. Or problems I was. Like, deeply, where do I want to put my time and energy? And how do I connect with that? And it's allowed me so much more focus. And like you said, not like it shuts out the noise. It shuts out like this, as I left my corporate life behind like abruptly, and said, I'm burning out. I got to go do something else. And I left. And I went on a bit of a journey to find my way. And I just happened to become an accidental entrepreneur. And I question myself all the time. I say, should we do this? Like, am I really designed to this? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh yeah, guess what I am? I'm like, okay. And I can turn out that noise. I could turn it out, turn it off, shut it out. And it allows me to go, oh yeah, because this is really what I want to do. This is where I get my energy. And I found it so interesting, just in that general statement of like, and this is probably like, I don't know, the first layer of the onion. Right?
Yeah. I won.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And that's, and that first layer, like, I can't even express how, like, I'm going to use the word empowering, but the real key, what it is that I get to trust myself on a whole different level.
Absolutely. And you feel, again, validated. I always say when you do a reading with me, it is all about validation, confirmation, and awareness. Because it's that like, oh, that's why. I had a client recently who I met in the bathroom at an event that I spoke at. We were just kind of chit-chatting in line. And she had happened to have been in the breakout room after my talk was over and one of my checklists was still there. And she was like, oh my God, is this you? And I was like, see? And she goes, okay. She's like, I really want to get more clients. I said, great. She goes, and do not tell me that I need to be on social media. I said, okay. I said, but can I ask you something else? She goes, yeah. I'm like, do you know your birth time, date, and location? Yeah. So I look at her chart. She was also a 5-1. I'm like, no, you're an opportunist. Your opportunities come from people that you have met, that you know, that you create relationships with. So no, social media is not going to be your main opportunity provider. It's going to be, again, it's going to be possibly speaking. It's going to be in person. It's going to think like this. You meet random people in the bathroom. That's what creates opportunity for. And third, I just saw her shoulders just drop and she go, oh, thank you. Like, because sometimes that's what we need. there's a type in human design called a manifesting generator.
We have two of them here on the screen.
Bro. So I know you guys could definitely please relate and or expand. The biggest deep breath I get with Manny Gens, you don't have to niche down.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
What? Each and every one of them go, thank you. How do you know that? I've been screaming that into the void. My mentor's telling me, niche down. Who's your avatar? Stick to one thing and focus on. And all of a sudden, the can of worms just explodes. And not only then, in that moment, do they already feel more connected and more trusting of themselves and their businesses. They also all of a sudden, again, feel seen and heard, which we all just crave, especially in business. And for somebody, I call myself a guide now. I just prefer that term besides coach. Actually, projectors are the natural guides, because that's what I get to do. I get to see them. I get to show them, and then together we work on them. It is not about my quote unquote frameworks. My old mentor was like, what are your 4 foundational frameworks? Stick to it. Don't get personal. Don't go here. You are the expert. To now, I just get to show up and hold space for my clients, and we go back to them. Every question that they ask me, yes, some of them still, because out of habit, well, how would you do this? Great question. Let's see where we can find that in your chart. What, this isn't about me. This is about, unless they're a projector, and then we can have a little bit, more of a talk. But it is that rewiring of it's not asking others, well, how did you do it, Louise? How'd you do it, Kim? It's more, okay, this is what I want to do. I know this. So how can I ask for that next thing to respond to for my manifesting generators and generators? How can I find that information to play, as well as that assurance that there's always going to be a plateau. There's always going to be that moment of that where you hit frustration. And okay, this is the time for me to reevaluate, because I've mastered all the things. Sweet, congratulations. Let's celebrate, and let's take this moment to reframe. We don't get taught that. We get taught to, what's the next goal? You celebrated. Great. Keep going. Push, push, push. Just, push past whatever, insert, toxic positivity, one-liner bullshit here. And we don't get the space to pause and to just reflect, because that's what creates sustainability. I'm not here, though it says success, and actually success is in quotations in my profile, because not everybody, how do I want to say this? I'm going to say it how I'm going to say it, and people are going to go, what? But let me elaborate. Not everybody is here to be successful. There are pings that each type has to make sure that we are staying inside of our design. Projectors are the only one that has success as a positive thing. For the larger population, which are manifesting generators and generators, it's satisfaction.
Yeah. Growing up, everybody was like, well, right? Be successful. You want to be successful. I'm like, no, I don't. Like, I inherently knew that the thing, and it wasn't that I didn't want to be successful. It was, however, the definition of success is out in the world did not resonate with me.
Yeah.
Right. Not just the stuff and the dollars and the whatever, but it's because dollars resonate with me. I do like dollars. But there are people who don't. And the reality is, for me, it does feel like satisfaction. It's like, oh, that's the good stuff, right? That's what it feels like to be quote unquote successful. But this idea of success and what that feels like, that's empty in me. I don't feel that. Now, I gave birth to a projector and married a projector. So hearing success coming from them, and I've started to use, on the flip side, that other ping is frustration that you talked about in a projector, right? What is that? It's bitterness.
Yes, yeah.
And being able to use the term of bitter, like, does that feel bitter? Yeah, that is a lot more than, oh, is that frustrating? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And so again, it's those identifiers. It's the way to I love working with my clients of just redefining words, redefining consistency as a manifesting generator. That is What is consistency to you? Consistency for me as a projector is when I have the energy, I step into it and I show up. When I don't, I am consistently resting. So though it may look inconsistent to a traditional coach or to somebody who, has been in the entrepreneurial world either for a while or, or just in it in general, I look crazy. I look like, oh, it just magically happened to them. Or to my managers, they look flighty. They look like they keep changing their minds. They look inconsistent. And so it's when you have your internal vernacular, then you're able to externally shift the rest of it. It's for how you can customize what that means to you or what words actually no longer register. I hate the word sales. No, I share. And I never understood why sales calls literally turned into 30 minutes of me just being a business therapist, because that's what I do. But to my former mentor, sales was, well, did you talk about numbers? Did you get a yes on the phone? If not, did you walk through them? Did you schedule a follow-up phone call so you could see what credit card they could put it on? No, I did. No. And so again, it's that like, when they would tell me that, I was saying, what is wrong with me? Why can't I? Why can't I do this? Oh, human design. Bibs, this is why. Ta-da. Like, and so again, it's so easy to get overwhelmed by everything that we think we need to do, by who we think we need to be, or where we think we need to go in order to create the business, the money, and the life that we want. But when we come back from ourselves and go to ourselves first, then it's like wherever you go, there you are. It's the same thing. Wherever I go, I have the tools that I have, that I love, that I trust, that I'm still learning and still growing inside of. And it's also just given me so much more faith, trust, empowerment. I mean, I just want to like sumo squat. Like, it's just like, this is it. And I've never felt in my 14 years of business so grounded and so me in my business. And everybody deserves to feel that, no matter how long you've been in business. Everybody deserves to feel that in general. Leave the title of entrepreneur behind. But it is that like, I really do know this to be true.
Louise, I saw you have a major reaction in there. I would love to just kind of hear what's going on in your brain a little bit.
Yeah, like, you're talking about entrepreneurship and business, and in my space, it's career. And all of the things you said are all still applicable, right? We give our power away so much to that somebody else has the answers. Right? In business, it's our mentors or somebody else that did 6 figures last year. I just need to do that. And in our careers, it's our companies and our leaders that kind of tap us and say, hey, you're really good at that. Go there. And you're like, oh, okay. Because who doesn't want to hear that they're really good and have a new opportunity? But we just give our power away. And having this access to something deeper within us that we can start to trust. It's like going from the passenger into the driver. It's like you were along for the ride and you don't know where the hell you're going. And then you have this tool that puts you in the driver's seat. It's the steering wheel, right? It's the car, it's the engine, it's who you are as a driver. But it gives you that, Kim, you call it agency. And it just, as you're talking, it's like, over and over and over again. Early in my career and in many careers, we're going somewhere. It's just, we're in a car that we're not driving. And this is that ability to just flip the switch, to hop on over to the other side of the front seat and just be more in control of where you're going. And trust that you're a pretty damn good driver. Yeah. So what I want to do here is, looking at the time, is underline those places, highlight, circle, point all the arrows
What are those elements that we want to make sure that people are hearing in this conversation, particularly when it comes to the place of finding our own personal agency or our empowerment? I'm going to share mine first. So it's this idea of tools, right? Mel, specifically your tool that you are absolutely genius at and bringing that genius to the forefront is human design, right? You have found that for yourselves, and now you are sharing that gift with the world in a beautiful way. For me, it started on the back end, like nobody knew it was happening, but it started on the back end with human design and a bunch of other assessments that were separate. And so that tool for me is bringing it together. And I have a unique tool that I work with my clients. What are that's to me like a really important part, a thread, a theme from this conversation is we can step into personal agency, into a place of empowerment, and therefore embody who we are meant to be when we have the tools at our disposal. So I'd love to hear, Mel and Louise, what are your takeaways? What do you want to underline and make sure people are hearing?
I mean, I would say this because I'm sure people are kind of maybe, I don't want to say question it, but this might be a question in their minds when I'm talking about one tool and you're talking about the gorgeous ones that you utilize as well. One is not better than the other. They all give you that information. So that through line, I would say between all of our, all of our gifts and all of our tools is the fact that this is about you first. So that through line of trust yourself. I know it's easier said than done, but even if you don't have the vernacular to explain why, which you don't really need to, it is that I know this to be true. I know this feels icky. So I'm going to do what I love and wait for that next resource. Because remember, all of us have to wait except for like 5% of the population. I birthed one of those. I birthed the manifester.
Yeah.
That's a whole other conversation. But it is that like, no, I know that there's more out there. So I need to wait. As I'm waiting, what can I do to feel mentally and emotionally profitable? Doesn't have to be connected to your business. It doesn't have to be connected to the decision you're trying to make. Go do something that makes you feel profitable because that's what leads you to that next step naturally. And again, you don't have to know your human design to that. You naturally work inside of it. But maybe take a moment and start noticing those pings a little bit more instead of just going, oh, it's outside my comfort zone. What is your no, is this, somebody asked me this actually the other day on a podcast, like what's the difference between, because I don't believe in procrastination anymore, of waiting and ignoring. I said, well, when you're ignoring, that register is different. That's just like in your gut, in your heart, you just waiting is, I don't know enough right now. So I'm going to pause and wait for that information. So when you get that feeling, that's a ping. That's for you to go, okay, I don't know why this feels gross, but this feels gross. So I'm going to pause and just do something else that makes me feel good and see either does that resolve itself on its own, or maybe that actual next step comes in. You just go, oh, that's sweet. And it just naturally feels better. So again, you have everything inside of you to answer the call of your soul. Take time to just be with it a little bit more and just question it from your space, not from a space of, well, I need to figure this out so I can prove it to somebody, or I need to figure this out. For you only. This feels gross. Go do something that feels good. Do not try to be like, well, I have to do this. No, you don't. No, you don't. Go do something that you want to do. And all of a sudden that will turn into everything that you do is what you want to do. And half will never be a part of your conversation.
Thank you, Louie. I love that. Felt that.
Well, and I think that's my kind of takeaway. We didn't use, like, we were talking all around this idea of like trusting ourselves, but from a place of like, we put language to it. We don't have to use our heads to trust our bodies. And that's really what we're talking about, right? Like we all deeply know, where we're going. We all know what we want. And when we can deeply settle into that, like, and use it as a resource, right? Then we can bring it forward. Then we can start, right, figuring out how to use that information. But it's all of this feeling, like you said, right? Like, you kind of know the difference between ignoring and pausing. Like, let's be real. And I think, that's for me what I'm taking away from this conversation is like, yeah. Like, let me trust myself deeply and see what happens. See where it goes, see what's different, and build upon that, and know that, like, right. That's what I'm taking away, because that's what this conversation deeply reminded me today. Louise and Maggie. Good stuff.
Mel, where can people find you in the world if they want to learn more about you, learn more about human design and all the wonderful things that you're up to in the world?
Yeah. So if you would like to respectfully stalk me online, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Mel McSherry, or on Instagram, Mel_McSherry. If you would like to spend a little bit of one-on-one time with me, that is safe, complimentary, no pressure whatsoever. I do have a virtual coffee link. That's virtualcoffeewithmel.com. It's 30 minutes. You can ask me whatever. We can hang out. And if you would like to check out more of how I utilize human design, you could definitely go to my website, melmcsherry.com.
Beautiful. We will have all those links in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here and having this conversation with us today, and leading into this place of empowerment, embodiment, right? As Louise, you were talking about, right? That is that when we know, it's because we've embodied. Because our body is going to give us that information, those pings that Mel was talking about so beautifully. So thank you again so much for being here. Louise, what are our final words that we want to share today with our guests?
What are our final words? Thanks everyone for tuning in. And yeah, come back. Have another conversation. Listen, eavesdrop, pull up a chair to the table. Whatever it is you do.
Respectfully stalk us.
I love that. Please respectfully stalk us. Fantastic. I love it.
All right. Well, until next time, we look forward to having you pull up a chair, and we will have another conversation soon. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Take care. Bye for now.
And that's all for this week's episode of the Empowered and Embodied Show. We hope today's episode has sparked something within you. Remember, we're all on this journey together. If something did resonate with you today, why not share it with a friend who might need to hear it too? You can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, leave a review. Your feedback not only helps others find the show, but also helps us understand what's most valuable to you. Until next time, be kind to yourself, stay curious, and remember, we're walking right alongside you. Thanks for being part of our community.